Hi guys, Tony from Quantum Videos. I'm going to be reading the entire recipe book for the Spider Forge. I hope you enjoy it. Let's jump right into it. First we have Exploding Flame Spider. These spiders, you toss a dead spider to the ground which explodes when enemies get close. To craft this, you need to do a ruby and a damaged albino spider pod. Keep in mind that when you do a flawless ruby as opposed to a regular ruby, and this rule applies to all of them. If you do a flawless, you get 6 of these spiders to throw at people. If you do a regular ruby, you only can do 3. You only get 3, I mean. Next, we're going to do Flame Cloak Spider, which tosses a Flame Cloak Spider on the ground that will cause fire damage to enemies that get close. For that, you need a ruby, salt pile, and albino spider pod. Next is Jumping Flaming Spider. Tosses a jumping fire spider on the ground that will launch itself at nearby enemies and explode if it lands near them. That's a ruby and albino spider pod. The next one is going to be Exploding Frost Spider. Toss a dead spider on the ground which explodes when an enemy gets too close. That's going to be a sapphire and a damaged albino spider pod. And Frost Cloak Spider. Tosses a Frost Cloak Spider on the ground that will apply ice damage to enemies that get too close. Sapphire, Salt Pile, Albino Spider. Remember, Flawless Sapphire gets you 6 of them. A regular Sapphire gives you 3. Jumping Frost Spider tosses a Jumping Frost Spider on the ground that will launch itself at nearby enemies and explode if it lands near them. A Sapphire, Albino Spider Pod. Exploding Poison Spider tosses a dead spider on the ground which explodes when an enemy gets too close. That's an Emerald and a damaged Albino Spider Pod. Jumping Poison Spider tosses a jumping poison spider on the ground that will launch itself at nearby enemies and explode if it lands near them. That is going to be an emerald and albino spider pod. And then a poison cloak spider tosses a poison cloak spider on the ground that will poison enemies that get too close. That's going to be an emerald, a salt pile, and albino spider pod. Next is going to be the shock spider scrolls. Exploding Shock Spider tosses a dead spider on the ground which explodes when an enemy gets too close. That's going to be an Amethyst and a damaged albino spider pod. Jumping Shock Spider tosses a Jumping Shock Spider on the ground which will launch itself at enemies and explode if it lands near them. Amethyst and albino spider pod. A Shocked Cloak Spider tosses a Shock Cloak Spider on the ground that will apply shock damage to enemies that get too close. An Amethyst, a Salt Pile, and albino spider pod. Now this is my favorite group of recipes here because these are just interesting. A Glowing Spider spawns a glowing spider that will follow you around. You don't need to use Mage Light anymore then. Only one can be spawned at a time. It's a Glowing Mushroom and albino spider pod. Mind Control Spider. Creatures and people that this spider attaches to will fight for you for 30 seconds. Any soul gem plus an albino spider pod. And then an oil spider spawns a spider that secretes a flammable oil when it feels threatened. Dwarven oil and albino spider pod. And then there's my favorite, the pack spider. Spawns a spider that can be used to haul items. Only one can be spawned at a time. A bone mail that you get from like a skeleton and albino spider pod. Here's some really important notes to remember when you're doing these spiders. Up to 6 spiders can be summoned at any one time. Some of these you can only summon one of that kind at a time. And do not count towards the limits placed on conjuration spells, meaning they will not despawn when you use a summoning spell. The spiders do not have a time limit and thus will remain summoned until they are destroyed. They will also fast travel with you. The spiders will turn hostile to you immediately if they are hit by offensive abilities of yours that does any damage. This is only relevant to cloak spiders, however, as both the jumping and exploding variants will explode immediately upon damage. The ability to damage them is not affected by companions' insight effect. The exploding spider types can be propelled by the unrelenting force shout or an arrow for a short time before they explode. This is a single respawning albino spider egg. There's a single respawning albino spider egg from which you can obtain albino spider pods for creating scrolls, located just south of Bloodskull Barrow, near the Shrine of Kinnereth. I assume that's in Salstenheim. If a flawless gem is used in any of the elemental recipes, 6 scrolls will be produced buy the recipes instead of 3. If you want to find where these spiders are stored, they're in your inventory under scrolls. That's probably the most important thing, because it does say other spider scrolls. They look like spiders, but really the game considers them scrolls because you use them with your hands. I don't know. Anyways, if you enjoy my content and these recipes that I gave you guys, please consider subscribing to my channel. Click on the bell icon below to be notified when I release a new video. Questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. Otherwise, you guys have a great night. This is going to be Tony signing off.